What's up, guys? You'll here talk a little Sorare NBA for this slate coming up from April 11th through the 16th. Looks like we're getting bigger slates here for the playoffs on Sorare. No longer trying to fit in 2 slates per week. We're going to have just 1 slate per week on Sorare. Should be a lot of fun. We'll jump into it. While you're coming in, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification button so you can get alerts when our shows go live. Also, we do have a great offer for new Sorare users. If you have not yet signed up, use the link in the description of this video to sign up. And when you make 5 purchases of cards on the market, you'll get a 6th card for free. That 6th card will be a limited card, number 2, 5,000, tracked on the Ethereum blockchain. So you already know how many of those cards are out there, but really, really great cards. And you never know what you're going to get. You could get a Giannis, you could get a Jokic, you could get some great cards there. So yeah, if you use the link in the description, buy 5 cards on the market on Sorare, you will get a 6th card for free, and that will be a limited card, number to 5,000. That is typically the contest that I play, my favorite types of contests, those limited contests. So highly recommend taking advantage of that offer. We also have had projections on the stochastic page. I'm not sure whether or not we're going to be able to have those for the playoffs. Still working through whether it's plausible. It's going to be a little bit tough because of the format here, because we don't know exactly what games are going to be available, which teams are going to be playing each other. Really hard to project out here. But I think we can help you out anyway. I think we've got a great idea of some good picks here. So I'll talk through it a little bit with you right here. So starting with these are the games currently available in this first period here, this April 11th through the 16th. But there will be additional games here. So as you can see here, these are the on the 11th, we're getting the 7 and 8 seeds playing each other. So the loser of each of these games is then going to play again on, I believe, Friday or Thursday or Friday. Later in the week, the loser will get a second game against the winner of these games. So in general, you're going to get multiple shots at a big game from players in the loser of these two. So I have this pulled up, 538's prediction. So in this Hawks Heat game, they've got the Heat winning 69% of the time. So the Hawks players, maybe a little bit more likely to have 2 games in this period, 2 to 3 actually, because then they should also have a game on Sunday as well. So the Hawks going to have multiple games in this period, potentially if they lose. Now, if you think the Heat are going to lose, obviously they would have additional games as well. But in general, the loser of this game should get 2 games in the period. And actually, the winner should too, because they will have a game in the first round of playoffs. Once the winner of these 2 games makes the playoffs, they will then have round 1 of the playoffs will start on Sunday. So actually, the winner will get 2 games. The loser will also get 2 and potentially 3 if they then win the second game. So, multiple bites at the apple here for these teams. And then for the 9 and 10 seeds down here, it would be the winner gets a second chance to play. So the loser is out. So in this case, the Bulls only a 28% chance of winning. Thunder only 29%. Those teams are likely only going to have 1 chance at putting up a big score, whereas the winners of these games will have at least 2, because they will then get to face the losers of these top games, and then potentially 3 if they win back-to-back games and actually make the playoffs. Then they'll have round 1 as well. So Raptors looking good, Pelicans looking good. Actually, all 4 of these teams I would say look good, because they should all have multiple opportunities to put up big games, players from those teams. But in general, so who are we targeting in here? Obviously, teams that are eliminated from the playoffs, you don't need to worry about those teams anymore. I'm really kind of focusing mostly on this Timberwolves Lakers game, because the game environment is just so good there, particularly with the Timberwolves now going to be without Jaden McDaniels, Rudy Gobert. We see a little bit of value in some Timberwolves players here. So I went out and picked up, I'll show you some of my cards. Just a couple cards that I picked up. Karl-Anthony Towns and Taurean Prince, I think, are kind of no-brainers at these last 10 average of 32 for Karl-Anthony Towns, 14 for Taurean Prince. They just look really good. There's going to be meat on the bone there. Even if we don't have projections, you can kind of just eyeball it and know that these numbers are a little bit too low for Karl-Anthony Towns and Taurean Prince. So highly recommend picking up those guys if you are going to be playing on this slate. I think LeBron looks a little bit cheap at this 42 price tag. Cheap meaning in terms of salary. So if anybody is new here, I should explain. Actually, let me do that right now. I'll explain what these last 10 averages mean, because they're essentially the player's salary. But if you go to upcoming contests, So the main contest that I like to play, I end up playing, multiple, but the one that I focus the most on is this limited champion contest. So in the limited champion, it tells you right here within MVP plus 120 points budget. So your budget essentially is your salary cap, and the salary is the player's last 10 average. However, in this contest, there is an MVP spot, and in that MVP spot, the player's last 10 average does not count against you. So you pick 5 players, and the first player, whoever has the highest last 10 average, doesn't count against your salary cap. The remaining 4, though, have to stay under a 120 point cap there. So, for example, so they an average of 30 there. So basically, Karl Anthony Towns with a last 10 average of 32 is just a little bit over the average of what you're spending there. And Karl Anthony Towns, obviously a guy who can put up huge fantasy points and just going to look even better with Rudy Gobert not there. You can assume Cat's going to pick up a few extra rebounds, maybe a little bit more usage. Jade McDaniels also not there, and also going to be playing big minutes here. So looks really good there. And then Torian Prince at a last 10 average of 14 really saves you some salary there, because your average for those 4 after the MVP spot is 30. He's only costing you 14. So then you can afford to spend up some other places. Really great deal there. Maybe we should jump in and build a lineup here, and I can show you what it looks like. So I'm going to do that. I'll jump into this limited champion contest. Actually, I'll tell you right away, though, limited contender is a little bit different in that here you have a 110 point budget and you have no MVP spot. So all 5 of your players do count against that 110 point budget. So you average 22 per player in that one. So that's a little bit tougher in terms of what you can fit in there. But of course, everybody's on the same playing field there. But in the limited champion, let's take a look what we can do here. So I think right away, I'm going to add, I might be able to do a full game stack here. I'm going to add this cat, add a Torian Prince. And now I think, so now I have the MVP spot. And I think Anthony Davis kind of a no-brainer here. So Anthony Davis, now my MVP. Torian Prince and Karl Anthony Towns are counting against my average here. So I still have an average remaining of 37 here for my remaining players. I was kind of hoping I was going to be able to fit both Ant and LeBron in there. It doesn't look like that is going to be the case. Let's see who else we might be able to fit in here. Also, one thing worth noting if you're playing these contests, it is showing some players at the bottom here as having no games. That's just because their games haven't been scheduled yet. Like, for example, Marcus Smart, it says he has no game, but we know Marcus Smart is in the playoffs. The Celtics are going to be playing this weekend, I believe, on Saturday. So although some of these players are listed as not having any games, that will change. The games just have not been scheduled yet. So I can pick a player from down here. Kind of bummed I can't do Ant and LeBron there. But let's see what else we can find down here. Players who are playing in the playoffs. Yeah, so Javon Carter, he's in the playoffs. Probably not going to play him, though. Not a great value there. Marcus Smart does intrigue me at that 27 price tag. I'd have enough to play basically anybody else if I did play Marcus Smart there. So I'll think about that. Tyus a little bit too expensive with John Morant back. Chris Middleton at 33, sort of interesting. Should be playing big minutes. That might be where I end up going. Could play Ja at 42. Let me see what I can fit in there if I get Chris Middleton in there. All right, so I have 41 left over. So now I can't play Ja. Who can I play at the top there? I could play Julius Randle. Could play Ant. I can play Kevin Durant. That's sort of intriguing. I think I'd rather play. That's tough because Kevin Durant should play big minutes now in the playoffs. It's debatable whether I want to play Durant or Ant, but I think with the Timberwolves playing at least 2, potentially 3 games, I'm going to go with Ant here, especially with Jaden and Rudy Gobert out. I think he's going to take on even more of the load. So I'll play Ant there, leaving just 3 L10 salary on the table here. I think that's a pretty solid lineup. So I'm going to go with that one. So we've got a basically game stack here with Ant, Cat, and Torian Prince going up against Anthony Davis. I think Chris Middleton as a one-off. He's only going to have 1 game in this period, but last 10 average of 33, pretty low there. So I think it's a good enough spot. I don't know if there's anybody with 36 or close to. Ooh, Trae Young, actually. I'm going to change my mind here. I'm going to switch from Chris Middleton to Trae Young. Where was he? Oh, I got to scroll to the top. I see. Yeah, that's a really strong bet there, I think. Obviously, tough first matchup with Miami in the first game, but it's only going to get easier than that. He's going to have. Hang on. Yeah, so they're wins this game, going to have an easier matchup. If they lose this game, then they're going to face either the Bulls or the Raptors. Yeah, not great matchups there, but he's Trae Young with an L10 of 35. Still seems kind of like a no-brainer there to me. So I do like that one quite a bit. I like that lineup. I should mention here, so that's just for this week. We also have, in addition to the regular contests for the limited champion, if I take a look at this, they also have a playoff competition where it is cumulative. So if this lineup would count for my first one. It also counts for this playoff competition where every week they add up your scores. So your lineup for each week will be added together cumulatively in a full playoff long competition. And it's not by round. I think it's just going to be game by game. I believe that is what I read. I should check here. But yeah, so it's not the fact that we have the play-ins and then round one doesn't really matter because both are going to count for this week one. It's going to be playing games and then also the early games in week one. Round two, the next week is going to be probably just round one games. We're going to get a mix of different things here. Kind of an interesting wrinkle there that we're going to have different rounds mixed together within these competitions. But keep in mind, you're going to want to think about who you could maybe play later on in the playoffs. We're going to get to the finals where obviously there's just two teams that you can choose from. So maybe think about some value pieces or players that you think might make it to the finals that you can use later on in the playoffs in those competitions. Some of these players, that are probably going to be eliminated. I'm hoping my Timberwolves make it through the first round of the playoffs, but it's not looking really good right now. So great for this round, but then not as strong later on. Maybe you're going to want players from, the Bucks, from the Celtics, from the Nuggets. Some of these teams that have better odds of making it to the finals might be a little bit more worth picking up right now because you're going to be able to play them in competitions later on. But my approach for this week is going to be, I think, game stack in that Wolves-Lakers game and just trying to find value wherever you can find it. I think Cat and Taurean Prince are just phenomenal values right now. LeBron is actually a really strong value. Maybe I should rethink trying to fit him in there, but I do really like this lineup as well. I think Ant, a fairly strong value now. Without Gobert and Jaden McDaniels, maybe has not that either of them take up all that much usage, but I still think going to play huge minutes in the playoffs against a really fast-paced Lakers team. So going to look good there as well. I do like this lineup. Anyway, that is going to be my approach to week one, and I'm going to be thinking about different players that I might be able to pick up who might have value more so in the later weeks. Guys like, I don't know, Bruce Brown, kind of backup players for some of these teams. You're not going to be able to find great value like you have been late in the season in NBA, but it's still going to be maybe as good as you can get in that final round. Some of these backups on teams that might make the playoffs worth kind of considering here. So that is going to be my approach to Sorare going into the playoffs. Hope you can find some success using a similar approach. Good luck.